Blast off. Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend so far. It's 70-something degrees. I want to show you guys something, if you're ready. Yesterday, when I was attempting to take a walk, just a big, long walk downtown here in the city in Pittsburgh, I was driving through this tunnel. And the tunnel has a pothole in it, a giant pothole, the biggest pothole I've seen in a tire killing pothole. And I'm coming toward the end of the tunnel where the tire killing pothole is, where I know it's there. It's been there. My car has hit it, but just like going slower. And I was going a little faster than I should have. And then this is what happened. Ready? Boom. That's what happened, boys. My BMW 750i got a serious fucking flat. I heard the tire deflate. You know, like I hit the pothole, it goes poof, and then I hear tsh. Instantly my dashboard starts freaking out. Low pressure. Contact service center. Call BMW roadside assistance. I'm like, fuck, bro. I'm in the middle of Pittsburgh traffic. I have to go up probably like 100 meters, like toward the city, where there's all this traffic two ways back and forth, and put my four ways on in the middle, like be that guy. It's like kind of, being a little bit of an inconvenience. Wait for a clearing, spin back around, and then take it to this service center, which was just a half a mile up the road, thankfully. Ended up getting a tow to a local tire place. They swapped it with a temporary replacement. It's not quite the wheel that goes on it, but that'll be good till Monday, Tuesday. I'm going to get, the whole tire replaced and just get all four fucking tires replaced. So that happened to me yesterday. Bit of a pain in the butt. A little late on the live stream this morning, boys, because I was with my cutie. That's what we were doing. A fire pit. Fuck yeah. A fire pit. I love her. All right, boys, let's get to some questions. Let's talk about HCG first. Listen, this is a pretty common. I think you're going to find a bit of polarization with HCG, and that polarization really is people can tolerate it and they're fine. It gives them better libido, maybe better erections. They generally fucking feel better with HCG. And, they don't have to deal with ejaculate volume being less, and they don't have to deal with testicular size being less. And it ends up being all good, right? And then other people, for the life of them, they just can't control estrogen with HCG. They just can't do it. They just can't do it. And it doesn't necessarily even mean that those people are overweight or, aromatized too much. It's that HCG is making them aromatize too much. I mean, that's just one of the things that it does, right? Independent of its conversion to testosterone, it makes you aromatize. It stimulates the Leydig cells to produce more aromatase. This is why a lot of people on higher doses of HCG with regular TRT doses are not going to be dialed in. They need to use an AI or DHT itself or DHT derivative in order to dial in. And it really comes down to this critical question of do I need it? Do I need it to function well? I would suppose this depends. If you can tolerate HCG and it doesn't take estrogen above your range and dick function and libido and all that stuff is good, you don't have any side effects, then use HCG. Use HCG. If you can't, though, which would mean you can't dial in the use of aromasin or anastrozole, Masteron, Primo, or even DHT itself, well then, you can't use it. You can't use it. You got to figure out some other alternative. Now, I don't really think gonadorelin is a great alternative. It's not that effective. It could raise prolactin. I don't think kisspeptin is a great alternative unless you want to inject it multiple times a day. We really just don't have a better solution. And I wouldn't suggest people use Clomid either. Clomid's really not the answer in this case. Those things have the ability to cause some serious fucking side effects, and it's just not something that you want to chance. So you're going to find, various back and forths on this. You'll find people that had this issue with dialing in estradiol on TRT, and they've had HCG in most of the time because their doc or their clinic prescribed it to them, and they thought they had to use it, and then they remove it, and you might get a little testicular shrinkage. If you're on a kind of low or medium dose, like 120, it's a regular TRT dose, then you're not going to get that much suppression. A lot of people are going to find, a lot of guys find, a lot of my clients find, they just remove HCG, they're on a low enough dose, but enough to get them enough testosterone and feel good all day. And then they don't have a lot of suppression, and things stay relatively the same, but they don't have that extra estrogen infusion from the HCG. So something to think about. You're going to have to figure out if you're that person. which person you are in this case. I do not think HCG is bad inherently. I think that it just increases estradiol. That's it, and that can be fucking problematic for people. Let's talk about DHT for life. If you're one of those people that requires DHT to dial in, I really don't see a problem with continuing to use DHT. Yeah, especially you got high potency gel like the stuff on Source List, where you can just put it on the shaft or put it on the forearms, preferably both. Find your dose. Maybe it's every day, 0.25 milliliters. Maybe it's every other day, 0.5 milliliters, of a high potency 20% DHT. It changes people's lives. It really does. Not just the sexual function, but, it's an antidepressant. It can make people feel better. It makes people more centered on what they want to do. It isn't the case that everybody, reduces their testosterone to DHT correctly. Some people just don't with injections, for whatever reason, likely some sort of deficiency or change or suboptimal state of the 5-alpha reductase enzymes. So I think that DHT should be a lot more mainstay. I think the clinics in America should be prescribing, and I think we should be prescribing DHT here in the States. And it is a tragedy that we do not prescribe it. That is my take on that. Let's move forward. All right, let's get to questions. Good morning, Culver. Is it V12? Oh, my engine? I don't know. It's like the new BMW engine for the 7 Series. I'm not really sure. It's a fast fucking car, though. The entire thing shakes when you step on the gas. Yeah, it's great. But now it's got a non-matching tire on it for a couple days till I get all 4. God, it was such a pain in the ass. I'll tell you what, the local Pittsburgh, I forget what they're called, towing company really, really came through, and so did Flynn Tire in Carnegie. They really came through to hook me up and got me done in the nick of time. I literally had to be back to my house because my girl was coming over to do dinner, and I made it like in the nick of time. It was fucking awesome. Good morning, Dylan. Bloods came back after 12 days of what? They sound insane. Have I tried methylene blue? I have. Yeah, I've taken methylene blue back in the day. I did some content on methylene blue many years back. That is in our purview as nootropics users. It was always in my purview, methylene blue, because it was primarily a nootropic. I don't really have many problems with methylene blue, and it appears as if it's not directly inhibiting the type of nitric oxide that you would need for erections. However, you do have some anecdotals of people using methylene blue and having erection issues and libido issues. One of the interesting things that we know that it does is it sort of stabilizes dopamine in either direction. If you have some sort of significant overage in dopamine, possibly due to the use of marijuana, which is stimulating a bunch of dopamine release, or acute stimulation of dopamine release with the use of alcohol, acute stimulation of dopamine release, we're signaling with the use of pharmaceutical drugs like Adderall, then I think methylene blue, based on the literature, would probably regulate that. At the same time, if you had some sort of major deficiency, like a glaring deficiency in dopaminergic signaling, then methylene blue would probably try to correct that. Probably work to correct that. So I think it would be useful in those regards. Some people, may end up having slight dick problems on it, and most people won't. Is kind of what it looks like. I haven't taken the stuff in quite a while. I do have a lot of methylene blue that I had just gotten in when Vigor Steve did the big breakdown on it. So, go watch that if you want more information on methylene blue, because I think Steve breaks it down far better than I have ever broken it down. And that would be the source of information to find regarding methylene blue. ALN. Hey, Ryan, got test and DHT gel coming next week. Currently at 289 nanograms per deciliter total T. Brother, that's not good. And I will say that because you're getting test and DHT... Good job, brother. I'm proud of you, brother. I know you'll feel good. It's all going to change your life. HRT changes people's lives, man. Whatever the modality, whatever it is, whether you're a dude that is like getting testosterone levels back to when you were a young, strapping, fucking energized young man, or it's a woman getting on HRT and getting estrogen and progesterone up and maybe a little bit of testosterone and maybe thyroid hormones up. Whatever you end up needing, hormone replacement is such a revolutionary thing. It's such a change. I can tell the people at my gym, as an example, or just generally people in fucking public that are on hormone replacement. You can tell they're more upbeat, and they look like younger. They look like they feel younger. You know what I mean? The energy is just kind of a crazy thing. Test alone for me with a little bit of desiccated bovine thyroid is like fucking transformative to my energy. Transformative. Even having okay test levels as a natural. Yeah. This guy doesn't need HCG. Well, whether or not you had a vasectomy, I still think that there is a degree of, other benefits that HCG might create, like the neurosteroid side of things. You could supplement DHA and pregnenolone and kind of get away with it for the most part. But back to this here. Yeah. I mean, listen, if you're depressed at any level, if you don't feel like you want to be productive, if you're kind of just feeling a little meh throughout the day, which I would imagine at 300 total tests, I'd feel like fucking dog shit, man. I'd feel okay. I'd have to really focus on calories and energy supplements and nootropics in order to feel good. But I mean, there's no way that you're the highest functioning version of yourself with 300 total T. It's just not happening. So when you get DHT and you get testosterone in the mix, you're gonna feel scores better. Yeah, you're going to feel scores better. Wake up feeling fucking energized throughout the day. You're going to feel great. You're going to feel scores better, my friend. Dylan, 171 free T, 327 DHT. Okay. 644. Total T, 171 free T, 327. DHT 644 and ultra-sensitive estrol at 60. Should I bring the estrogen down? Libido is slowly going down. I'm on cream. Your total T on cream is 171? That's not right. If we're talking about different ranges, please specify that. First shot. First one shot. Says, I didn't take an AI when I first started TRT and my estradiol jumped to 220. That's picograms per milliliter, or is that nanomolars per liter, or whatever the other measurement is, or picomolars per liter? Because those are two very different things, my friend. Definitely want to specify. Yeah, figured that your test was high. And this is cream. That's on cream. Total test can go pretty high on cream. On 3 pumps a day of 200 milligrams per milliliter transdermal scrotal cream, my total test goes about 1250 at peak. Yeah, it's troughing between 800, kind of 900 or something. High 750, 800, something like that on trough. So that would be the next morning before application. Cream is one of the best modalities ever, man. For both men and women, whether it's estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all in a cream. And I just found today a DHEA, progesterone, testosterone, fucking estradiol cream for the gals. And, for guys, testosterone cream, total game changer, bro. Especially if you're not converting enough to DHT on injections, which some people don't. Some people don't, right? So that'll transform your TRT experience in and of itself, being able to convert enough of your test to DHT. For sure. Jared Saucedo with the big $10 super chat. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate that. Jared coming in hot with the $10. I'm going to buy me some Keurig cups with that today, and maybe some French vanilla creamer. Thank you for that, man. All right. I've heard you say you need at least 650 milligrams of test prop a day. If I'm doing test prop, I need at least 50. On 40, considering my workout routines, I feel a little subpar. I likely just because there's a peak and then it starts going down. And I don't know what happens there. You can have all the testosterone in your blood that you want, but are you using it? Is SHBG kind of grabbing a lot of that testosterone? What's really happening there? But yeah, for me, 50 milligrams a day is fine. Interestingly, a couple years ago or something, I could take 30 milligrams a day of prop and feel good, but I guess that's just sort of changed over time for me. I honestly feel like very, very remarkable on 50 milligrams a day. Now, that does push my hematocrit up a little, so kind of got to manage that, but otherwise I feel fucking great. Jared says, I feel amazing on high-dose prop 60 to 80 milligrams a day. Talk about the pros and cons of long-term high-dosing prop. Well, I would say let's talk about the cons first, because you're curious about sustainability. I think the major con of prop at 60 to 80 milligrams a day would certainly be hair loss. Yeah. It would almost definitely be hair loss. Yep, it would be hair loss. Like with prop, I notice it. If I'm pushing those higher doses, like I'd run 80 milligrams every other day, 100 milligrams every third day. I'd run like some pretty fucking high doses of prop. And in those situations, yes, I wouldn't say like my hair was fucking falling off of my head, but I would look down at my hair from the top and notice like spots, like, you know, like shit. And I couldn't actually feel stuff coming out of my hair. Like I didn't see, you know, stuff on my hands, but I saw my hair starting to fucking thin on high dose prop. So that's one of the cons. The other con is that your hematocrit's probably going to go up, right? Because you although you get a trough, you don't really get, I mean, you're going to have fucking pretty uber super physiologic levels of testosterone on 80 milligrams of prop a day. Yeah. I mean, when I was running, I think, God, was I running 70 a day with 3 pumps of cream. My test was like 4,000, you know, nanograms per deciliter. And then when I was running 70 milligrams a day of prop, with no cream, my test was like, you know, 3,200 or something like that. It was like fucking crazy. Let me see if other cons. Any other cons to that? No, I mean, you know, maybe some acne. You know, certainly when I was running prop, like high doses of prop, I got some acne, and it was fucking significant. Like I noticed it on my back mostly. Now that's like all cleared up. I'm back on a long ester, and just, you know, it's pretty stable and not kind of going back and forth sort of thing. The pros, though, let's talk about the pros. I mean, the erection quality on prop, if the dose is right for you and your estrogens are reasonably close to your sweet spot, is going to be better. It's going to be better. Yeah. When I ran 3 pumps of cream plus 70 milligrams of prop a day, I was a walking boner. I mean, I had these pulsing erections that just would not go down. It was completely fucking crazy. But I had to manage, you know, hematocrit. I had to take Naringen. My blood pressure didn't change much at all. But, you know, it's just kind of one of those things. Let's see. I mean, you're going to have to figure this out, right? You know, continue high dosing. Just look at your bloods, you know. For me, estrogen would eventually just go too high on this, you know, and I'd have to take a little bit of Aromasin, not a whole lot, but I have to take some Aromasin to get it back down. You know, it would still be suppressive, so I'd need perhaps a little bit of HCG on that if I was doing it long-term kind of thing. And in the end, though, if this dose of prop works well for you, you need to figure out how to run it. Yeah. You know, definitely. You know, if there was a best protocol for me, which, you know, there's probably like 7 of them that I, you know, or more that I've been able to make work, then you got to figure out how to work. If that's your only, you know, the only protocol that you really feel fucking amazing on, you got to figure out how to make that work. And that might take you 6 months. You know, should take you 3 if you've got enough tools or if you're working with a coach, but it might take you 6 months otherwise, because you got to dial in estrogen. You got to dial in if you need gonadotropins. You got to dial in hematocrit if that's a thing, you know, maybe blood pressure. Otherwise, run the fucking prop, man. Thank you for the super chat. Levi, can I swap test sip from prop because of excessive hair loss? Prop work great for PFS-induced ED. Yes, it does. It certainly does. I think that you're going to have to, if you do this, you're definitely going to have to change. You know, it ultimately seems very clear, and this is not uncommon in these situations, that you need higher levels of test and more conversion to DHT. That's just the fucking bottom line, right? So, you know, the kinds of long ester protocols that I've seen work in this situation, like 150 milligrams of a long ester every other day, every third day, you know, with eventual estrogen control when it gets to that point, because it will get to that point. Yeah, it will almost definitely get to that point. But I've done that, and I mean, you know, the erection quality was insane, and I was like very, very horny, and I felt fucking great, and I was anabolic as fuck. You know, so you're going to have to figure that out. Alternatively, what seems to be the case, because ratios scale up and downward, they scale up to a certain extent in terms of estradiol and total test, but downward for sure forever, is that with a long ester, you might just need to run 120 milligrams a week. 120 milligrams a week, do daily or every other day pinning or every 3.5 days. You get it into the muscle, take minimal or no HCG, and then estrogens are going to fall in the sweet spot, and you'll be dialed in there as well. You'll be dialed in there as well. Unless you need, you know, sort of ongoing help with, you know, fixing ED and fixing, you know, some of the issues that PFS might have induced. Yeah, so this guy was 220 picograms per milliliter. Was this on cream? Always put the context. That's fucking way too high. That's way too high. I'd have all manner of problems. All manner of problems. All right, Ryan, besides HCG, Clomid, and Nolvadex, what do we need for PCT? Pretty much that. Yeah, I mean, Clomid and Nolvadex will do it for you. Clomid itself will do it for you as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Those are the ways that you can pretty much feel not as terrible. Not as terrible. You know, like if you were to just PCT off of testosterone, like, and not use anything, you'd feel fucking bad. You'd feel fucking bad, bro. You know, I hear these stories all the time. People feel fucking terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible. I wouldn't want to feel like that. I mean, when I ran an experiment to take my test dose down to 70 milligrams a week, I felt terrible, dude. It was like as if I was PCTing. It was bad. Real bad. Real bad. But I think those things will absolutely suffice. Joe did a cycle of 300 milligrams a week. I wouldn't call that a cycle of testosterone, personally. I would call that a very, very mild, I'd call that sports TRT is what I would call that. So you did some sports TRT. Now that you've added Anavar 50 milligrams a day for 2 months, that would turn it into a cycle, a steroid cycle for sure. So there you go. The test only for 1 month, then PCT and clomiphene 12.5 milligrams a day for 1 month. Mental libido good, physical is lagging. I don't know what you mean. Physically you feel, or is it the erection quality that's lagging at this point? Because at this point, I mean, all manner of shit's going wrong here. You know, you're used to all this test. You maybe create a bunch more androgen receptors because that's kind of what the body does in response to tests to deal with it. SHBG changes, and then you go off of it. Body feels like you're not getting enough tests for a while. I mean, that's probably what might be happening here if you're having, you know, physical stuff, physical problems. But at the same time, again, I mean, 12.5 milligrams a day of enclomiphene is not a lot of enclomiphene. The standard dose is 25 milligrams a day. You know, your test is probably just super low and you're feeling fucked up, dude. You know, people don't typically sound or feel all that good on low test. You know, I mean, it's pretty hard to do. It's pretty hard to feel fucking awesome on low test, man. Yeah. Well, you need a lot of help with nootropics. You need a lot of help with caffeine. You know, you need a lot of, I mean, thyroid hormones that will get you, you know, maybe 25% there, but quite honestly, brother, hey, brother, quite honestly, brother, here's what I have to say about it, brother. I think that you're not going to feel good on those low levels of testosterone. Air Dolphin. Been microdosing DHEA and pregnenolone 5 milligrams of each, was getting too lethargic on 30 to 50 milligrams of both. Interesting. I wonder what was happening there. Are you taking tests? Yes. 175 tests sip a week. No HCG, only zinc. Fully dialed in. Thanks to your channel. Fucking awesome. Love to hear it. Love to see it. Love to see it. I love to see it. Yeah. I mean, that's how it should be, bro. Here's an example of someone without HCG. Doesn't need HCG. You know, that's fucking beautiful. Zinc, though, does, you know, help testicular function, load size, and all those kinds of things. So that's wonderful. I bet, though, too, the zinc is helping control aromatase a little bit. It does. It does. If I take 50, let's call it 50 milligrams of zinc for more than 2 days, I start getting kind of low estrogen symptoms if my test dose isn't high enough. So this isn't uncommon. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. Why you were feeling lethargic on, you know, 30 to 50 milligrams of preg and DHA, that's questionable. I don't know why that was. Estrogen being high, which is what that would cause, typically wouldn't make you, one, feel lethargic. I just thought that's not like a big inducer of lethargy. So hard to say exactly what is happening there. But hey, man. You're dialed in now. That's all that matters, brother. That's all that matters. Madcap, can DHT cream be purchased to debit or any other currency? It is gel, which really, it turns out to be, well, listen, there's Andractum, which is 2.5 or 3%, very small percent, low percent DHT gel. And then there's 20% DHT gel, which is more of an oil. You know, when I rub it on the shaft or my forearms, it's more like an oil. Yeah, it feels like an essential oil or something. It's pretty crazy. It's an essential oil that makes you fucking super masculine and, you know, makes your Johnson stand up. Zachary Chase just started running a couple weeks ago. Thanks to you. Fucking awesome, man. Fucking awesome. I was going to get, probably just a walk-in yesterday. That's all I was really intending to do. And then this happened, bro. Hit a pothole. Right? Just entering the city in Pittsburgh where you don't want to blow your tire because there's traffic in each direction. I ended up having to circle the car around safely, flip a bitch, and then I got to a service center, which was actually close, who couldn't help me because they couldn't. It was the cutoff for tires was too late at that point. But got a tow truck in about 35 minutes, I want to say. Made it just in the nick of time to a tire place who gave me a temporary tire, which is just pretty comparable. Until this coming week, I get new stuff. But I was heading to do some exercise, and you never know. Today I might actually run a little bit. I'd love to. I haven't ran for a couple weeks. But running changes your life. It changes how you feel, man. It changes how you feel, dude. It's fucking phenomenal. Fucking phenomenal. Levi, how long does it take to dial in on test sip on average? You're talking about 4 to 6 weeks, really. Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks. And test prop worked after 1 week, every other day injections. Curious, what was your dose on prop every other day, Levi? If you could put that down with some context. Don't just put the doses I won't remember. Just say, hey, this is my dose of prop that you asked about. What was that dose? What was that dose? Yep, sipping A, I mean, takes a long time. It's because you have to get to this new norm of hormone levels, which, based on the fact that it acts very slow and breaks down slow, and sticks around for between 6 and 8 days, it's going to take you 6 weeks to get to that new norm, that whatever level that you're going to be kind of pretty stable at. Then at that point, SHBG sort of, reacts accordingly. Your transport of hormones to tissues and distribution to tissues reacts accordingly. And that normal state might take some time even thereafter for you to be settled into it. At that point, you get to determine, based on bloods and based on how you feel and function, is estrogen too high? Or is it good? Do I need HCG or do I not? But yeah, you're looking at 4 to 6 weeks, really. Yeah, unfortunately. Brother, often thinking about combining my next cycle with some PE enhancement, penis enlargement enhancement, including the protocol test E, 600 and 900 a week HGH, DHT cream on the shaft, 2.5 Cialis, last BPC 157. Yeah, BPC 157 may actually do it if you inject it, with a whatever reconstitution solution in the shaft. Yep, we don't have any studies on this, unfortunately. ChatGPT seems to think that it's doable, that you wouldn't have any problems. Potential risk of priapism, which would ultimately be a good thing, that your dick is responding to it. Yeah, I mean, it's a reparative peptide, man. So, people that have serious erection issues and getting estrogen in the right place with enough androgens isn't fixing it, then you might want to consider intracavernosal injections of very low dose BPC 157. Maybe there's repair that you have to get done. BPC 157 does that. There's no question that it does it. It does it. It does it. DHT gel, I'd be using 20%, the stuff that's on source list, no question. You don't want to fuck around. If you're trying to actually grow it, yep, I would use 20% DHT gel, man. Because that shit does fucking work, brother. Wow. I mean, just the girth from using DHT gel on the shaft, for me personally, is insane. It's insane. Really, really insane. And the erection quality is fucking insane. Really insane. Oh my God. Hector! The $20 super chat. Thanks, brother. Huge, man. This is huge. All right, 14 milligrams prop daily. All right, that's not bad. 250 IU HCG every other day. Total T is 1,000. Estrogen 47. Yep. Bump to 30 milligrams of prop due to lack of energy. This makes sense. And that's because it's leaving the system too fast. That's basically why that's happening. Added Primo ball and for estrogen control. What's a good test to Primo ratio? Yeah, 1-1 isn't always applicable. It just depends on you. I couldn't get away with 1-1 because Primo is very strong for me as an AI. Like, it's very strong as as an estrogen reduction additive, add on, for sure. If you're at 30 milligrams of prop a day, if I were you, what I would shoot for is like 10 milligrams of Primo twice a week. Start there, because then you're not overshooting it. If you overshoot it, you're going to get low estrogen symptoms. Your libido is going to disappear because estrogen is being inhibited too much. And then from there, things will not be particularly good. So I'd start with 10 milligrams twice a week. See how you fare. Go run labs again. See how it's changing that estrogen number. Vigorous Steve has done bloods on this and videos on it where the estrogen does go down. It does. It did for me using Primo for a very short period. Very short period. So that's what I would suggest if I were you. But it's good that you found the test dose that makes sense. 14 milligrams of prop. every day is not a high dose of test. You know, it's just not necessarily it. And even if you're at 1,000, you're not steady state at 1,000. You know, the tissues don't feel like you're at 1,000 when you're dosing prop because it's exiting your fucking system. You know what I mean? It's getting out of your system. Yeah, prop's a real tricky one. I mean, for me, that's why I kind of need 40, 50 milligrams, 45, 50 milligrams a day if I'm going to do prop. That's where I feel good considering how much I go to the gym and fucking push it or run and walk and whatever and exercise. You know, what I need to sustain. Because the stuff leaves, you know, or it seems to, even if the blood still say that you got a lot of tests, it seems to sort of stop acting because it's quick to sort of start metabolizing out of the system. But yeah, I don't think about it as a ratio. Start with a low dose of Primo twice a week because it's presumably primobolan inanthate, and then run labs. Run that estradiol sensitive once a week, dude. Run it for 4 months, like for a month or something, for 4 weeks. This is the kind of work you have to do to dial in. Yeah, it's the kind of work you must do if you want to dial in. So how long for test enanthate to stabilize? 4 weeks. 4 weeks. It does peak quicker, leaves faster. You know, you get more, you seemingly get more testosterone. Some of Steve's buddies did, some deeper breakdowns on this. And, testosterone enanthate is just superior to cypionate in every way. I mean, that's what I dose now and love it. So something to think about, man. We've got a user that runs 100 milligrams of prop a day. No, that's a lot. I definitely have some hair loss on that, for fucking sure, bro. Hair'd be falling out of my head, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'd be looking like fucking Dan Aykroyd in Conehead. That would suck. That would suck. 25 milligrams per viron a day. Woo. Do you have any hair left? I'm just joking. Did that for 10 days now, and I feel better and great at the moment. Should I take HCG, pregnenolone, or DECA with it? DECA, no. Definitely not. You don't want to risk dick problems, and it can cause dick problems. Regarding pregnenolone and HCG, if you feel fine right now, don't take it. Don't take it. If there's ever a point at which you start to feel like you're not dialed in, make sure it's not estrogen. If it isn't, explore HCG and pregnenolone. Ryan, what are your thoughts on 30 mlg cypionate 3x a day? I don't know what that means. 30 milligrams of cypionate 3 times a day? 90 milligrams a day? 560 or 9 times 7 is 60. That's like 600 milligrams a week, roughly. It's a lot. It's a lot. I don't know why you would want to do that unless you're on a cycle. Yeah. Taurus, what is your opinion of a daily low dose of Selegiline, sublingual 1.25 milligrams, and add on to TRT and increase libido, dopamine, or epinephrine? Well, I think the mechanisms of this, Selegiline, hold on one second here. The mechanisms of this are if I remember, there is some opioid receptor stuff going on, which is not good. Let me confirm that. Selectively inhibiting monoamine oxidase B, an enzyme responsible for breaking down dopamine in the brain, increased levels of dopamine. So that's all it's really doing. Dopamine increase, catecholaminergic activity enhancer. Okay, so as long as it's not doing anything negative with opioid receptors, this is the thing you have to remember though. If you're inhibiting, monoamine oxidase B, and you're getting more dopamine, there's going to be some carryover homeostatic responses to that. There are going to be. And those responses may not be favorable in the long term. In the long term, you might sort of downregulate dopamine projection because your brain is recognizing it has a lot of it in the synaptically available spaces in the brain. So, that might not be great. Would I suggest using a monoamine oxidase inhibitor every day? No, I wouldn't suggest that. Just like I wouldn't suggest using most nootropics every day. Some you can get away with using and they're fine. Like I built Torque for that, R-Stack. That's what it's for. But, others you shouldn't be using every fucking day. There's just no question about that. Zachary, what do you think are the lead reasons for loss of morning wood on TRT? Estrogen, and estrogen. Next. No, seriously though, those are the fucking reasons, man. Those are the primary reasons that you get dick problems on TRT. Yeah, Yeah, or you're changing a protocol, and in that 6 to 8 week interim, your body's getting used to the new norm. of hormones, of test, of DHT, etc. And then these types of problems occur. At the same time, people can be not reducing enough of their testosterone to DHT. And so DHT works very counter to estrogen. So you can have kind of elevated estradiol or somewhat elevated estradiol above, the typical range and still have great erections and all that stuff if DHT is able to counter it. But if you're not converting enough that your body might need of test to DHT, it's not going to counter it, and you'll be predominantly estradiol dominated, with some testosterone and some DHT, which is going to cause erection problems. Yep. In any case, if you got erection issues on TRT, the least complicated way to deal with it would be to reduce the dose and pin more frequently, even though I'm not a fan of that. Unfortunately, that is the best option for those cases, because you're then going to not have major peaks of estradiol. And at the same time, if you're pinning daily IM with a 5/8 inch needle, you won't feel it. It'll feel just like an insulin syringe, but you'll actually get the muscle, because you're not always getting the muscle with shallow IM 0.5 inch. And then you're going to have a nice peak, a little bit of a trough, more of a natural sort of thing, kind of steady state, but not exactly consistently steady state. And things are going to be pretty fucking good. But, you really want to maybe take it down in that case to like 120 milligrams. Anybody having erection issues on TRT, you remove the HCG or dose like 100 IU twice a week or something just to have enough. Take your dose down to 120. Do daily 5/8 inch intramuscular injections and give it 6 weeks. Yep. Run 10 milligrams Cialis a day, 20 for sex if you need to. That should suffice. And then, once that all balances out, you're not going to need like any dick optimization or any of that kind of shit. I've been through this before. Unfortunately, I'm kind of going through it a little bit now after having cycled down from sports TRT to TRT. Things are mostly good and getting a lot better now. And it's been, I want to say it's been about 4 weeks, the current protocol, because I had to change it again. Like one of those fucking things. Thoughts on aspirin on cycle? I think it's generally a good idea if you're one of those people that needs blood thinning, Yeah, or anti-clotting for sure. I think there's other compounds you could take that would help in that situation. Most predominantly of them would be Neuringen, which will control that hematocrit for the most part, and you'll be on your way. But yeah, I think that as long as aspirin doesn't cause you to have blood that is too thin, too consistently, then you should be good. You should be good. You should be good. Aviation Pro says, I miss my 750i, 750Li. Yeah. But I don't miss the maintenance. Yeah, this here, I hit a pothole yesterday, driving to go do a walk in the city, and I heard that my tire completely deflate. And this is where we ended up, boys. Look at that. I mean, the whole sidewall. It's actually hard to see at this point, but the whole sidewall is just completely fucking blown out. Just blown on out, dude. I'm ending up getting, the rim is not bent, thankfully, it looks like. I'm ending up getting, just because I'd rather not have one tire with a certain number of tread and then another tire with not a lot of tread kind of thing. I'm going to get all 4 new tires, whatever. Then it's done. Then when inspection comes, I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, yes, it's going to be $1,500, just about $1,500, including tax and stuff. But it is what it is. It is what it is. It has to fucking happen. As an adult, I've been effective, and because I feel good and been optimizing my brain for years and hormones. So I'm effective as a I'm effective financially. So $1,500 is what it is. Is what it is, brother. What about aspirin aromatase inhibitor effects? Nope. They're all there's any of the natural stuff that people say might inhibit aromatase. It's just not as strong. It's just not strong enough. Yeah, even proviron is not that strong at reducing estradiol. It's just not that strong. It's got an aromatase inhibitory effect, but it's just not as powerful as you might want it to be, as people might want it to be. People might want it to be, brother. Sorry for the late start this morning. I slept in a little longer than usual because I was with my cutie. That's my cutie. Her name is Jill, and she's a fucking phenomenal woman. Phenomenal woman, boys. Strap in, boys. When you find a good one, man, God, I dated for such a long time and whatever, I was coming off of a breakup, so I kind of needed it. But ultimately, I would have loved to have found Jill a long time ago. It would have been, great for me and probably great for her as well. But when you find when you find a fucking good one, man, I knew she was a keeper after like a month and some change. I'm like, yeah, yep. And part of that, there were no keepers. No keepers whatsoever. So that's how you know the stark difference on a keeper, when you see all these things that make you feel good and you want to be around them. You look forward to hearing from them, or you want to talk to them. Absolute fucking keeper. Perfectly thrilled, super happy about it. Any other questions, boys? If you got them, ask them. Hope you're ready for the weekend. Hope you guys are doing something fun. If you're in the Northeast, or basically anywhere in the country, but right now we're really finally starting to reach the point of, oh no, I lost my chat, boys. Finally starting to reach the point now where it's spring. It's truly spring. It's truly spring. I think we've rounded the corner for sure. And that's something I've been waiting for a long, long time. In March, we had one day where it was really nice, and I went out and was trying to get some fresh air, and it was wonderful. Trying to fix chat here. Hold on, boys. That didn't fix it either. What is going on here? Hold on. Control. Huh, no. I am either having an Alzheimer's moment or this is just not working correctly, boys. Yeah, here we go. Boom. All right, I think we're back. Sync or hustle. Fuck yeah, bro. Where or how did you meet her? I met Jill on a dating app, Bumble. And, Messenger was, like I would pay so that I had the ability to message first, you know what I mean? Otherwise you just like, it's just so many flakes on those apps. That's what I remember about it. And, I messaged her with just kind of an opener about what I liked about her. And she seemed a little skeptical about what I was saying, and then quickly kind of cleared that up. And then, right away, like this is the thing. Like when I used to realize, like shit. There's no way this will be even a match to go on a date if there's not good communication back and forth. You know what I mean? If we don't have a good, exciting conversation where at least each person's responsive. And there's a lot of things that I look for in a woman. One of them is like responsiveness, and she was just so fucking responsive. And we had a great like chat, that night that we matched on Bumble. And then I asked her out to dinner, and it was a couple days later we went out to dinner, and then again, probably a week later after that, or shortly after, and then we went to a symphony together, and that was it. I knew she was a keeper really, really early, dude. Really fucking early, man. Really fucking early. A good woman, a good partner should add to your life. And when it's the one. When it's the one you're going to be with for sure. What do I know about Testosterone? Nothing. I don't know what that is. Brother. Wish I could help you, brother. I wish. Hey, listen, I wish I could help you here with this question, but I don't know what the fuck that is. Don't know what that is. Is it some sort of a oral TRT or something? I don't really see a lot of people having success with that. I really don't. With oral TRT, I'm not seeing it. Bro. I'm not seeing it. In fact, I have people come to me after taking oral TRT and they're like, dude, I don't really feel much different. I'm not getting the benefits of TRT like at all. Get on injections, get on cream. Then they start to notice it. Recommended dose for P5P daily, 50 to 100 milligrams. Go to the point of tolerability. If you have side effects, like you start feeling a little anxious, or if you have pins and needles in your hands, that's one of the things that can happen via lack of GABA. So that means you have a GABA problem either way. Then dial back on it. But yeah, 50 to 100 milligrams a day would be pretty appropriate. maybe every other day. Levi, earlier asked what my test prop was. It's 40 milligrams every other day. It worked really well, but had some hair loss, so going to test SIP 125 injections once a week. I think that that's okay. Yeah, I think you're going to find probably estrogen falls in a great place here. You're probably not going to get hair loss because it doesn't shoot up DHT quickly, which would, agonize the, the hair follicles. It basically just thins the subcutaneous tissue, the layer of tissue on the scalp, which offers less protection for hair follicles to be healthy. That's what the newest, most sort of modern kind of progressive literature or scientific standpoint on DHT and hair loss says. That what it's doing is reducing the subcutaneous scalp tissue so there's less protection on hair follicles, because that subcu fat in your scalp actually protects the hair follicles. That's what the most modern, most progressive explanation is right now. No one's talking about it, but I've read that paper. I think it makes sense. Justin, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you taking the time every weekend to help us out. Fuck yeah, brother. Fuck yeah. Hey, fuck yeah, brother. I'm excited to be here, man. I'm excited to be here. Brother. Would BPC 157 help with sore or weak knee joints? Absolutely. Local sub-Q would be fine. If you got it just kind of on the thigh, because you're very close to the knee, I bet some of that material is going to go down there. So I think you'd be fine. Excuse me. I think you'd be G to G, brother. G to G. Can pay. Oh, hello. I can pay. What's the best ratio for test and Masteron? Also 2-1 like with Primo. You should never... My opinion on this is that you should never approach these things with a cookie cutter ratio. You should approach them with the intention of finding the dose that works and not thinking about a ratio. Once you find the dose that works, you can then measure the ratio, and then you know what the ratio is for you. Yeah. With HRT, there's just too much variability between people. That's just it. So you're not going to know what it is until you find the dose. So it's not 2-to-1. I mean, these aren't like just broad brush ratios. I know many people who try the 2-to-1 ratio and they end up having no libido because it took their estrogen too low. So it also depends on the dose. I mean, if you're somebody who is dosing a ton of TAS, then yeah, you can tolerate higher Masteron or higher Primo. If you're not dosing a ton of TAS, then hefty doses of those things are going to reduce estradiol too much, and you're going to have libido problems, and things are not going to work well. Can be. Oh. By the way, I'm PFS, and thank you for all the amazing videos. Great. Hope you got your hands on some DHT, honestly. If you want a shortcut to resolution, or at least a very, very immediate symptom relief, get some 20% DHT. Get some Proviron, use a little bit of HCG, leave the test alone for a little bit, and then maybe add test if you need to. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, there's a couple channels that talk about it, but I mean, no one's ever done a documentary on it like I have. It just became something that for me was a big part of my life because a lot of people were reaching out to me when I was on the neuroscience side of things. And I explored that route. Was it a neurological problem? And after, tireless, painstaking, long duration exploration of that, it's not a neurological problem. It's an endocrine problem. It's a hormone problem, and it's a tissue level organ problem. Like it's problems with the male organ, fibrosis, etc., collagen deposition. You got to reverse all that. Starving yourself of DHT is never good. It's never good. That's one hormone you cannot fucking starve yourself of. And if you think you can get away with it for a brief period, you might be able to for some time, but eventually the wheels are going to fall off the bus. They just are. Justin, 10 years low T, PFS, close to 380 total T. Yep, that's bad. You're 80 points away from being hypogonadal. Put me on 50 milligrams test SIP, 4,000 IU HCG a week. Wait, what? 50 test SIP? That's had libido for the first time in a decade, but crazy sides. Yeah, because estrogen's probably too high. Yeah, you're exactly 90 E2. Switch to just SIP to stabilize, but libido missing. Add low dose HCG. In your case here, what you should do is now you've got to dial in on test. That's what you've got to do. Yeah, if you just switch to test Cypionate and you have a low dose of 50 milligrams a week, yeah, libido is going to go away. Go on 120 a week. Do 18 milligram a day daily shallow intramuscular, but with a 5/8 inch needle, which you can find on Amazon. So you will hit the muscle for sure. I would call that mid intramuscular, not deep, not shallow. Mid is where it's at. It's where it's at. 5/8 inch will get you there. Insulin syringes too, so they don't hurt at all. But take that test dose up to 120. 126 would be that in that case. 18 milligrams a day. 126. 126. Do that. Don't use HCG. Let that go for 6 weeks and see where you are in the meantime. If that fails, go back to your old protocol. I mean, that's not a great protocol, but if it worked, go back to it, and then you're going to probably have to control estrogen because those are the sides that you were getting, for sure. Jay Gosh took Accutane in his early 20s. Does have the same effect as PFS? Pretty much. Yeah, I think the effects are pretty comparable. Pretty super negatively comparable, bro. There's just nothing good about it. Nothing good about it, bro. Bottom line. Good luck. Ryan Gooden. I don't know what's happening here. Here we go. If you have solid hair genes and aren't... Oh, fuck. I think my internet just crashed, boys. Hold on. What's going on here? What is going on? And why is it going on? Whoa, brother. What is going on? Why? Not enough memory to open this page. What? Really fucking weird, brother. What do we got here? Definitely good on that. I mean, I can't even... Okay, I think we're back. I don't know what happened. I just had some technical difficulties here. Let me just ensure that we are actually back on the stream. Yeah, looks like we're good. All right, so the question was, if you have solid hair genes and aren't worried about hair loss, is using 20% DHT, is there a way to know you're using too much or any other side effects? Potentially acne, but also crushing estradiol to the point where, or estrogen's gene expression to the point where you have, erection issues and libido issues. You take estrogen too much down, and you can actually do this with these things that block the gene expression of estradiol. Yeah, you can do that with those things. You can. And that's the indication that shit went wrong, and that it's too much DHT. Have I experienced any testicular atrophy from TRT? Ultimately, no, because I've largely used HCG for the majority of it. Yeah. And if there were periods where I don't use HCG to stabilize estrogen, I mean, that's a useful tool. Don't use HCG, let estrogen stabilize, slowly bring it back in. I've had to do that, a couple times. Then, maybe a little bit of atrophy in the meantime, but then once the HCG's back, all is well again. So just one of those things, man. Rogue Trader. Hey, Ryan, I'm on 120 milligrams. Tests per week and 19.6 hemoglobin and 59 hematocrit. Well, that's real problematic, bro. That's something's happening with your body. I rarely eat red meat. Try Narinja, Natto, nothing helps. Well, how much Narinja and for how long? You might need 700 milligrams a day for a month to reduce this. At this point, go donate blood. Yeah. And also, if you smoke cigarettes, stop smoking cigarettes. Because that shit there, or smoke like a couple a day, not a whole pack. Because that shit there is going to make your fucking hematocrit go up too. In addition to being on test, you need to cut that out if that's a problem. Same thing with booze, and maybe stop taking B. If you're taking B vitamins, stop taking those for a while. They make you synthesize a little more iron, and that could be problematic too. But 120 milligrams a test a week in hematocrit that high is unusual. That this is not something that people typically do. If you have great libido, well, I'd be reluctant to change it. If erections and libido are good, I'd be reluctant to change that. But, this is not a normal response from TRT. So you've got to do your research and get to the bottom of why exactly you're making so much damn red blood cells in response to a very low dose of test. Worst thing, worst comes to worst, donate the blood for sure. Keep taking the Ringen thereafter and pin every day. Same dose. See how you fare. Justin, I'm doing about 130 a sip now, last 2 months, and I'm stable, everything but no libido. My old protocol was a really bad doc. If there's no libido on 130, look, try different esters. Try prop. Try a daily prop dose. I bet you get your libido back there. But where's your estrogen? Where's your estrogen? I don't really have a great libido at all when my estrogen's too high. That's just it, Yeah. And just even on sports TRT months back, 300 milligrams a week, my libido wasn't great until I got estrogen down. That's just it. Again, the pro-estrogen groups really fucking have brainwashed people. They really fucking have. Listen, guys, here's the truth. Higher estrogen for a male is not pro-libido. It's not. Higher estrogen for a male inhibits dopamine in the fucking arcuate nucleus of your brain, which is very centric to the hypothalamic sexual function part of neurological functioning for men. Okay? It inhibits dopamine from binding to dopamine D2 receptors. High estrogen is not good for libido. Estrogen is not the libido driver. You know what the libido driver is? I'll tell you what the libido driver is. In-range estrogen, enough estrogen, and then DHT. That's the libido driver. Yeah. When I'm in that place where estrogen's like in range and it's good, not super high, but I'm dosing DHT or I just have enough tests to reach that point. Like my girl, everything on her is fucking sexy. Everything. Her mouth is sexy. Her nose is sexy. Her hair, her feet, like everything. I can't focus. I'm, around her and I'm looking at her body and I'm like, oh, fuck. That's DHT. That's not estradiol. Where's your estrogen, bro? Didn't mean to go on this fucking rant, but these pro-estrogen guys have fucked people's brains. Have fucked it. I'm telling you, if I go above a certain range with estradiol, man, my libido goes away. It's hard to climax. I'm just not sexually aroused as much. That estrogen gets in the right place, preferably without the use of an AI, but if it's a low dose, it'd be aromasin or even some DHT to control some of the gene expression, then I'm back. So where's that estrogen, buddy? All right, where's the estrogen, buddy? Where's the estrogen? If people are talking about estrogen being good, etc., yeah, sure. But if they're talking about let it go and there's no range, they don't talk about numbers. This is an ideology. It is not based on reality. It is not based on what these people are seeing with real humans. It's not. It's an ideology. And when you get ideological about shit related to your health, like the keto people did, or like the carnivore people do, or like the low carb people do, you start saying weird shit like there's no essential carbohydrate. What the fuck are you talking about? Do you understand cell biology? Yeah, carbohydrates are essential, dude. Just because they're not labeled like essential fatty acids, argin or essential amino acids, etc., doesn't mean they're not essential. Ideology ruins everything. People with the estrogen ideology and that like other hormones being in balance will help. Yeah, well, thyroid hormones do help control aromatase. This is true. But if you had a really healthy body, but you're injecting too much test or whatever, you're aromatizing too much for your set point, no amount of fixing the rest of your body is going to help you. You got to fucking lower the estrogen. Rant over. Digression beginning. Okay, Silver Shroud. If I start running DHT and 500 IU-HCG every other day, I'm assuming an AI will still be necessary. If you're running tests, it depends on the test dose. If it's a high test dose, potentially. Could I still get away with CDG or do I need aromasin? You're going to have to figure that out. I know a guy who couldn't take AIs no matter what and then started dosing, I think it was a gram of CDG a day. Perfect then. Totally dialed in, right? Because it's just a little more, it's just forcing estrogen metabolism, right? So you're clearing that estrogen out of your body quicker and it's not being reabsorbed. And in that case, you end up, dialing in and feeling fucking awesome. All right, boys, I'm going to end the stream. I got a lot to do today and I've got to get it fucking done. It's a beautiful day, so I've got to go enjoy that as well. Great questions. Great questions. Remember, April is our busiest month in coaching. I am not fully booked yet, but I'm close. I'm really close to being fully booked on coaching this month. So book me. Book me. Otherwise, it's going to be a month wait or something. It's going to be a while. Last question with a super chat. Thank you, Easy. Appreciate that, man. 20 bones, man. I'm fucking rich, man. Good morning, brother. Any experience with HMG? No. It's just not something I've thought to brought in or needed to bring in. But there's going to be a point in my sort of tenure with hormones where I'm going to just want to try it. Also, does Jill have a sister? Oh, that's cute. Not one that I think is single at the moment. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask her. But yeah, she's a fucking cutie pie. Good question, though. It would be nice. I mean, I'll tell you what, if she had a sister that was just like her and, you know, super pretty and like sweet as fuck and super loving and awesome, you know, whoever gets her would be a lucky motherfucker, dude. Just like I am, dude. Super lucky. Super fucking lucky, man. Now, when you find a girl that sticks, man, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. And you're lucky. You're lucky. Because like it shouldn't be as hard as it was, but for me, it was really hard to find a girl that I really liked. Really fucking hard. God damn, the numbers here. Like, law of averages, okay, but wow. Really? I have to go through so many frogs to get to like a princess? Like, really? Anyway, boys. Yeah. Coaching. Book it. Otherwise, you won't be able to book it soon. April is a fucking busy month. So is May. So is June. It's going to go crazy. Torque stack down the description. Source list. Every anabolic you can think of, including high potency DHT, down in the description. Go buy it. Thank me later. Literally change your life if you need some of the stuff on there. Otherwise, have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy the nice weather. And I'll talk to you boys this coming week. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.